Okay, question number 1. Find the slope that goes through the 2 points. So it was easy, but a couple of you, because you couldn't identify what is x1, y1 properly, as a result, you got this question wrong. Many of you, not only one, many. So in each pair, you don't have only x's. Pair means you have x and y together, okay? So the first one is x1. Come on. First one is x1, next one has to be y1. It's not x1, x2. No. X1, y1, they are pair. It's like married couple, okay? One of them is male, one of them is female. They have to be together in one pair. You cannot have same gender, okay? So x and y, they have to be together. Two x's cannot be together, or two y cannot be together. So the second pair is x2, y2, not y1, y2. It's x2, y2. So because it couldn't identify your slope, as a result, even though you got the formula correct, x2 over x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. You got the formula correct, but because your pairs are wrong, so you got the whole thing wrong. So y2, 19. And you're subtracting y1, but your y1 already has a negative sign. So it's not only minus 14, it's minus negative 14. So you have double negative here. And then you have x2, which is negative 6, and you're subtracting 9. Second mistake, I noticed that you don't know how to add two negatives. When you have same sign, you keep your sign, but actually you have to add the numbers. Okay, so even though it says minus 6 minus 9, it's not 3 or it's not negative 3. It's negative 9 plus 6, which is 15. And on the numerator, you're adding because you have double negative. So you get 19 plus 14. It's not 23. It's 33. Okay, so I see a few 23, which is wrong. And then I said simplify. You have to simplify because in the final exam, everything will be in simplified version. So you have to pick the correct multiple choice. Here I didn't give you the multiple choice, but in the final exam, they'll give you the multiple choice. So if you don't know how to simplify, you'll get stuck because you will not see this question, see this answer in your multiple choices. So you have to simplify, and simplifying doesn't mean you have to divide 32 by 15. No, it means you have to reduce them by 3. And then you get negative 11 over 5. So this is correct answer, negative 11 over 5. Good morning. Okay, so let me see. Zohai still not here. Cairo not here. Maria not here. Kachung not here. Josephine not here. Iboni not here. Krish not here. Daisy absent. Eliza. Who? Evan in the background. She'll be here. Kachung, no. Justin, no. Krish, no. So even you'll be here. And did I give you your exams? This is the exam. So you're Uni? Yeah. Sorry, my bad. It's okay. Thank you. The way you talked, I thought probably Uni is the restaurant. Sorry. I'm still learning thesis. You know, even I know my math, but there are two things I'm very bad at. One is direction. When I go to a new place and come out from the building, I forget my direction, which direction I came from. So I'm really bad at direction, first thing. And second thing, I'm really bad at thesis. I can recognize people's faces easily. I'm really bad at that. It took me a while, but yeah, now I recognize you. But I'm still learning this group. You guys talk all the time, so I always talk to you, so I know your faces, but they don't talk much, so I don't know their faces much. Okay, sorry guys, I'm learning. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, the second set is actually the easiest question in this exam. You don't need to do any math. All you have to do is draw your xy plane. So this is your x, this is your y. The first question says find the slope of the line parallel to the x-axis. So if you know this is your x-axis, you know that its parallel line has to be another line just like your x-axis. I gave you the point, but the point doesn't matter. The main idea is the part I bolded, parallel to the x-axis. So if your x-axis is a horizontal line, its parallel line also has to be a horizontal line. That's the idea here. And what is the slope of any horizontal line? 0. Next is perpendicular to the x-axis. So if this is your x-axis, its perpendicular line has to be y-axis, something like vertical line. And what is the slope of any vertical line? Undefined. Same scenario, the next one, parallel to the y-axis. So draw your y-axis. This is your y, and it's parallel line. So you're going to draw another line exactly like your y-axis. And you can see clearly these are vertical lines. It doesn't matter which vertical line you have, all the vertical line have what slope? Undefined. Now lastly, perpendicular to the y-axis. So you draw your y-axis. This is your y-axis. Its perpendicular line has to be a horizontal line. And any horizontal line has a slope 0. So you have a slope 0 here. So that's all you have to do. You didn't need to do any math or anything. Just draw. That's what I said. Draw your XY plane. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you any point. Because if you show me something, I will see that, well, you got it from using your brain. But if you don't show your XY plane, how do I know whether you copy from your neighbor? You're just stretching. Okay, the next one. We have 3x minus 4y equals 12. And from A to E, all those questions depend on this. So first one says find the slope. Now there are two ways you can find the slope. One is convert it into y equals ms plus b. This m is the slope and this b is the y-intercept. So if you convert this into y equals ms plus b, you get two things at the same time. But if you didn't do it, then you get only one thing, which is slope. So if you just want to find the slope without doing everything, you can do slope is negative a over b. This is the slope formula, not formula, like formats. The coefficient of x divided by the coefficient of the y. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. So to find your slope, we have negative a, which is 3, divided by b, guys, b, which is negative 4. So it's negative 3 over negative 4. The double negative cancel out, and it's positive 3 over 4. So only a few of you did this way, no problem. Let me show you how to do it the other way. If you want to convert y equals mx plus b format, that means you need to get your y alone. So you subtract 3x from both sides. So you get negative 4y equals negative 3x plus 12. You guys did it perfectly. And then divide everything by negative 4. And then most of you made mistake here. Even though it's supposed to divide by negative 4, but I noticed you divided by positive 4. So then what happened to the negative sign? You disregarded that. So y equals, the double negative cancel out. You get 3/4 x. And this is not plus 3. You were dividing by negative. So it has to be minus 3. Okay. So your y-intercept is y equals -3 or 0, comma -3. That's your y-intercept. And if you want to find y-intercept, you also, there is another way. You can set x to be 0 and then solve for y. If you use this method, you just let your x to be 0. So 0 minus 4y equals 12, which is -4y equals 12. Divide by -4, and you get y equals -3. So there are two ways you can find y-intercept, two ways you can find slope, but actually there are two ways also you can find x-intercept. The normal one I showed you is set y to be 0 and solve for x. This is true for any x-intercept. Whatever you're finding, you let the other one to be 0. So in that case, your y, the entire y gets 0. So you're left with 3x equals 12. Divide by 3. So you have your x equals 4. Or it's x equals 4, y is 3. This is the point format. And now all you have to do is place x and y intercept on the plane and then connect them with a straight line. So I noticed a few of you, even though you got everything correctly, but you drew the wrong graph. So be careful. Your y is -3. So 1, 2, 3, -3 is here. Plot the point on the y-axis. Your axis 4, it's here. So plot it on the x-axis. And then all you have to do is connect with a straight line. That's it. The line is on the top side or on the bottom side. It's here. y3, -3, and x4. Any question? Now, since you know the slope of this line, that means you can find the slope of any parallel line or any perpendicular line. So parallel line, what type of slope parallel line have? Same slope. So if the slope of this line is 3/4, what is the slope of its parallel line? Same 3/4. And what type of slope perpendicular lines have? Opposite or negative? Reciprocal. Reciprocal. It means change the sign, flip the number. So what would be the slope of the perpendicular line? -4/3. So same slope, it's 3/4. If you flip it, you get 4/3, and then you also have to change the sign. Okay. Question so far? Where is your exam? The next one, a couple of you forgot the rules. You messed up the rules. As a result, you got everything wrong. And if yes, no is wrong, the reasoning doesn't matter. Okay, you got the main thing wrong, so the reasoning I give you 0. The rule depend on y only. If y has even power, then what do you have? Function or not a function? Function. Sorry, not function. If y has any odd power, or y even power, or no y. So even has two problems. Either it's even power or you don't see any y. If there are two scenarios, then it's not a function. And if you have an odd power, then it is a function. Okay. We don't care about the x. We only care about the y. So what number we have on the power of y? 2, right? Is 2 odd or even? Even. So since y has even degree, what is it? What's the rule? What's the result here? Function or not a function? Not a function. Why? Because y has even power or even exponent. If you tell me because of the even power, well, which one has even power, x or y? Even though I understand here only y has even power, no problem. But what happened here? They both have odd power. So if you tell me, well, it's yes because we have odd power. So which one you're talking about? The x or the y? X has 1, y has 3, they both are odd. So which one you're looking at? That's why you get 0 because of the half correct reasoning. You have to write, you have to specifically state you're looking at the y only. Y has odd power or y has even power. That's why we know whether they're a function or not. Y has odd power. And some of you are trying to trick me saying, oh, because it passed the vertical line test. How do you know it's graph? I didn't give you the graph. So if you want to use the argument about vertical line test, show me the graph and then argue. If you don't show me the graph, how can you argue that the graph passed or failed vertical line test? Okay, so I didn't accept those because where is your graph? How do you know it's graph? I didn't give you the graph. Which one has even power? Which one? I'm asking what is even power? X or Y? Oh, there is no word uneven for math. It's odd. But I give you points because I understood your concept. So we don't have uneven number. We have odd or even. Two things. But I understood. So uh, even and uneven, they're opposite of one another. We use them in real life, but in math, we don't have any uneven thing. We have even or odd. Two things. It's like a real learning, so I don't mind. The next one. Is it a function or not a function? Not a function. Good. Why not? Doesn't have any y. So no, because no y. And here, if you tell me it failed vertical line test because it's a vertical line, I give you a point because you know stuff. It's graph. X equals 1 is a vertical line. If you tell me it's a vertical line, so you failed vertical line test, I accept that. But if you tell me it failed vertical line test or passed vertical line test for A or B, 0. The next one, also the easiest question. All you have to do is draw a vertical line through anywhere and then figure out the answer. So the first one, yes or no? Yes. Second one? Yes. Third one? No, because we have two intersections. Next one? No, because it's a vertical line. A vertical line cannot be a function. It's a vertical line. Failed. The next one, it's a weird graph, but what's the answer? Still no. So if you draw your line here and tell me that, oh, it's past the vertical line test, you are not doing, you didn't draw your graph correctly on correct place. You have to draw somewhere where it makes two lines, two intersections. For example, here it makes one intersection, okay? But how about here? You pass the vertical line test, you have to pass everywhere, not only at one point. So even though the vertical line passed here, the vertical line test fails here because we had two intersections. So it's no. And the last one is a horizontal line, so it's yes. Any question? Cairo.
Wait, can you just go back to talking about?
Okay, the next one. So I was being strict in this question and the next one. And I was being strict because of your thing, ending the boundary. So this line is going on forever. This line is going on forever. What is our domain? Negative infinity to positive infinity. And range is the y value. So what is the smallest y value you see here?
Bracket -4.
It's -4, not +4. So -4, and since at -4, you don't see any hole, as long as you don't see any hole, it's always brackets for number. And for infinity, we use parentheses. But if you use bracket, I didn't mind, probably because I took it all as a like you didn't understand the thing, parentheses here. So I didn't take a point for that. But for number, it's very important. Either it's the parentheses or bracket. If you don't see any hole, it's always bracket. The next one, domain, was the most confusing one because we had two parts. But it doesn't matter how many parts you have. You see, from -4 to 2, there is no gap in your x-axis. You use all the numbers. And here, you started from 2 and used up to 4. Come on. Erase. So you start from your 2, exact same 2, and ends at 4. So there is no gap in your journey from -4 to +4. So that's why you cannot have two intervals here. You have to have one interval. There is no gap, that's why. And on -4, you have a hole. So it's parentheses -4. But when you reach +4, there is no hole. It's a closed circle. So +4 gets brackets. Only when you have a hole, a visible hole, you use parentheses. Otherwise, it's always bracket for numbers. And for range, you look at the y's. So this is our smallest point. Our y is 1. So it starts from 1, but we have a hole, so it's parenthesis 1. And then this line reach up to 3. So you go up to 3, but then at 3 you have a hole. So 3 gets a parenthesis because it's a hole. And then you see the next line starts from 5. So there is a gap from 3 to 5. You did not use any y value from 3 to 5, so you cannot combine this interval. This interval has to be separated. So you get two intervals. The next line starts from 5, but at 5, you have a closed circle. So 5 with a bracket, with a closed circle. And this line ends at 7. So you go up to 7. Oh man, come on. You go up to 7 and then close bracket. I have to restart that. So let me save. Close. Hey, still not here. Patron. So let me restart. So we go to 7, and 7 gets a bracket because we have a closed circle at 7. If you wrote 7 to 5, it doesn't make sense because your domain always has smaller number on the left, bigger number on the right. So it's 5 to 7, not 7 to 5. And then the last one wasn't bad. Your domain starts from -4, so it's -4, but your -4 has a hole. So it has to be parentheses. And then you're using all this number until here. At this point, you have 3. So you stop at 3, and this time 3 has a closed circle, so 3 gets a bracket. Now, in this journey, your y starts from 1, and here your y stop at 5. So it's 1 to 5 for the y, but when y is 1, there is a hole, so parentheses, and when y is a 5, there's a closed circle, so it's bracket. So it's 1 to 5. Any question? In the final exam, they tend to give this type of question to test your domain and range. So if you did not understand domain and range, please understand them before you final. The next one, I got the most question. Most people got this wrong. It's a parabola, so obviously the 2 lines are going on forever. So what's the domain? Everything, negative to positive infinity. Because your lines are going on forever, and for every point you have an x value. So x value is going on forever on the left, x value is going on forever on the right. So negative infinity to positive infinity. Now for y, this is negative 2. Your y starts from negative 2, and if you observe clearly, there is no hole in your graph. Since there is no hole, you cannot use parentheses. You have to use brackets. So it's bracket negative 2, not parentheses negative 2. If you put parentheses, it means you have a hole at negative 2, which is wrong. So I took a points. The smallest number is negative 2, and the largest number we have no idea because the line is going on forever upwards. So it's infinity. The next one says when y is 3, find the x value. So I already dotted the y equals 3 line for you. This is y equals 3. Now y equals 3 and the graph, how many times they intersect? Twice. One is here and one is there. I already did that for you guys. And I also told you what these numbers are. So I saw a couple of you gave me 3 numbers. A couple of you gave me only 1 number. So see, it's not my fault if I took a point. It's your fault because you did not see the graph. Even if the graph is unclear, I told you, anytime you don't see anything, you don't understand anything, don't guess, ask me question, I'll tell you. But you didn't ask me question, so I give you 0 for this. There are 2 x values you have. One is negative 2 and one is positive 4. If you give me something extra, you get 0. If you give me only one of these, you get 0. You have exactly 2 x values for y equals 3. The next one, I saw many weird graphs, but the correct graph is absolute value. What type of graph absolute value have? What's the shape? V. V at the origin. That's why I told you to graph the original one so you can see that you have a V at the origin. So this is 1 point. Now you took this V and you flip it because of the negative sign in the front, and then plus 5 inside your absolute value. Which direction? Left, not right. Left. Do you remember the story I told you? When you like someone, you start liking someone, they'll listen to you. So this one, it will listen to you. If you tell it to go up, it will go up. If you tell it to go down, it will go down. But when you get inside someone's heart, then they don't listen to you anymore because you are inside their heart. I mean, they are inside your heart already, so they don't care about your opinion any longer. So same thing here. 5 is inside your absolute value. So inside your function, inside your heart. So plus 5 is supposed to go right, but it doesn't. It goes to the left. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. And then this is telling you to go down. Minus supposed to go down. So yes, it listens to you. You go 1 down, 2 down here. You stop and you draw your graph. That's all you needed to do. V at the origin, and then upside down V at 5, -2. The next one, many of you got wrong because you didn't read your X clearly. So this is 0. It's the origin. That's why I gave you this number here. So you can see that this is your y-axis. So if this is the y-axis, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7, not 6. It's 7. So you're moving this point at the origin to here. So you're going 7 units to the right, not 6 units, right? 7 units to the right, and then 1, 2 units to the up. So 7 right and 2 up. That's your transformation. Now, what is the original graph at the origin? What's the formula? Y equals x cubed. Now, that cubic function, since you have a left-right movement, so something goes inside, something goes outside. So x is inside, and then you have some number, and then cube, and then some number on the outside. So which number goes inside? Right. How many units? Which sign? Plus or minus? Minus. And then we have 2 up. How do we write 2 up? Plus 2 outside. So what if you did is this. X cubed minus 7 and then plus 2. Well, it's not right, because just because you put it parentheses, it doesn't make 7 inside your heart. 7 will be inside your heart if you put your 3 power outside, not inside. So outside or inside means it's inside or outside the power, not the parentheses. The main thing is the power. So if power is 3, it has to be outside of -7. So this is wrong. And then my favorite ones. A lot of you got this wrong. And nobody got perfect 36, I think. Ronald, did you get perfect 36? No. Nobody got perfect 36. Yeah. So you have to remember your rules. There are few rules. Start with 0. Anything, any base, as long as it's not 0. Anything, positive, negative, whole number, fraction, variable, anything. That is, as long as it's not 0, and if you raise it to the power 0, what's the answer? 1. That means you have a problem at 0, right? What is 0 to the 0? It doesn't exist. You have no idea what is 0 to the 0. So based on that, what is 3 to the power 0? 1. What is 0 to the power 0? Doesn't exist. What is -1 half y whole thing to the power 0? Still 1. See, anything, it doesn't matter what you have, anything, as long as it's not 0, if the power is 0, the answer is 1. So we have double 1 and 1 DNA on the first row. And then we have 0 rules. We already know 0 to the 0 doesn't exist. How about 0 to the any negative power? Still doesn't exist. 0 is the most strict number. It can only take positive power. It cannot take any negative power, or it cannot take any 0 power. So if you have 0 to the 0 or 0 to the negative, it automatically doesn't exist. That means 0 to the anything positive, whole number, fraction, decimal, variable, anything, 0 to the anything positive is 0. So 0 has only 2 choices, either DNA or 0. It's 0 for positive result, positive power, and DNA for everything else. So what is 0 to the -3? DNA. What is 0 to the 5? Still 0. What is 0 to the 1/2? Still 0. The 5 and 1/2, they're positive number. We don't care about whether they're fraction or whole number. They're positive number. As long as they're positive, your result will always be 0. And now comes the most generous number, 1. What is 1 to the anything? Positive, negative, fraction, whole number, variable, anything is 1. So 1 is the most generous one. It doesn't discriminate against anything. We put anything on 1, it stays same. So what is 1 to the 0? What is 1 to the negative 1/4? Still 1. What is 1 to the 22? Still 1. So it doesn't matter what you have on 1, the answer is always 1, 1, 1, 1. And now we have negative 1. Negative 1 has 3 things. When we have negative 1 to the odd, any odd number, odd fraction, odd whole number, anything odd, what's the result? For example, negative 1 cube. What is negative 1 cube? Negative 1. And if you want to find negative 1 to the 1/3 power, means cubic root of negative 1, it means find one number, multiply 3 times, result is negative 1, answer is negative 1. So it doesn't matter what you have for odd, whole number, fraction, decimal, doesn't matter. As long as it's odd, the answer is negative 1. And then we have 2 other choices. Either we have negative 1 with the even integers, means whole number, 2, 4, 6, 8, or we have negative 1 to the even fraction. Okay, so for even, we have to be careful. Is it even number, integer, or it's even fraction? If it's even number, like even like negative 1 square, or negative 1 to the 4, or negative 1 to the 100, negative 1 to the 1000, negative 1 to the 50, any even number, what's the answer? Positive 1. So if it's, as long as it's a whole number, negative 1 turns into positive 1. But if it's an even fraction, 1/2 power, 1/4 power, 1/6 power, anything even fraction, what's the answer? It doesn't exist. Why not? Because if it has even power, so if we have negative 1 to the 1/2, it means the square root of negative 1. So they're telling you find one number, multiply twice, the answer is negative 1. Can you find such a number? Not possible. If you have 1/4 power, they're asking you find one number, multiply 4 times, the answer is negative 1. Can you do that? No. So that's why for even fraction, we cannot have a result. So the answer is DNA. Okay, that means what is negative 1 to the 0? It's positive 1. This one falls under this. Anything not 0 is 1. So negative 1 is not 0. So when you raise it to the power 0, the answer is 1. And then negative 1 to the 11. Is 11 odd or even? Odd, right? So if you have odd power negative 1, what's the answer? Negative 1. And how about 12? It's positive whole number. So, sorry, positive even number. So it's 1. And then we have here negative 1 to the 1/4 power. So 1/4, is it an odd fraction or even fraction? Even fraction. So what's the answer? Doesn't exist. 1/4 means find a number, multiply 4 times, the answer is negative 1. We have no idea. So first 1, 2, 3, 4 rows are all about 0 and 1 and negative 1. So make sure you know them well, because I'm planning to give this chart again in the next exam. This chart again, but I'm going to change the numbers.
But it's gonna be like 36 points again.
That's why I gave you all the rules again and I explained them. Okay, the next one. As long as you have the same base and you're multiplying them, you don't multiply the bases. You keep the same base. Oops. You keep the same base, but then you add the powers. So it's 3 to the 25, not 9 to the 25. You never multiply bases. You keep your base, but add the powers. And the next one, I saw many of you gave me 15 to the 100. Come on, how does it make sense? You keep your base 3. This is your base 3. You have to keep it. It's strong. You cannot change it. And then you multiply your powers. So it's 3 to the 100, not 15 to the 100. Common mistake. A couple of you gave me the answer for next one is 4x to the 5. You are very close. If you know this x to the 5, how could you forget to distribute your 5 to the 4 also? It's 4 to the 5 and x to the 5. Everything in your base has to get the same power. So we have 4 and x, 2 elements in the base, so they both get the same power. For division, if you gave me negative answer, I didn't give you points because I said simplified form, simplified. You cannot have any negative in your power. It's not simplified. So in division, we know you subtract the power, but based on the position, you have to keep that position. Our 5 is bigger on the denominator, so you have to keep your base on the denominator. And then you subtract 2 from the 5. It stays on the denominator, not on the numerator. And then you put 1 on the numerator. So it's not x to the negative 3. You have to write it's 1 over x to the positive 3. You can never leave your negative power alone. The next one, x is to the 5 on the top. So you get x cubed without any negative sign. And again, this is the same thing like the multiplication. In division, you have to distribute the power. So 4 to the 9 divided by x to the 9. Now, same question is on the bottom one, but this time you have a negative power. So for negative power, I showed you the trick. All you have to do is switch your base, flip your base, and then the power becomes positive automatically. So it's x over 4 to the 9, but you also cannot leave it alone because this is not simplified form. The simplified form is x to the 9 over 4 to the 9. And now comes all the negative rules, the next 5 things. X to the negative 1, 1 over x. What is x to the negative 2? 1 over x squared. What is x to the negative m? 1 over x to the positive m. The next one, fraction, we don't care. It's the same rule. It's 1 over x to the positive power. Same thing here. It's 1 over 2 to the positive 3. But then I also expected to write what is 2 cube because it's simple. What is 2 cube? 8. And then the radical. So I noticed a few of you made mistake about negative power and radical power. If you have, come on. Oh no. I know. So every radical power turns into fraction but that fraction is as an exponent on the variable. Okay. On the other hand, negative makes the entire thing fraction. So if you have x to the negative 1/2, no, if you have x to the negative 2, this is 1 over x to the positive 2. So you have a big 1 and then entire thing is on the denominator. But if you have x to the square root of x, it's x without anything, but on the side, on the power, it's 1/2. They are not same. So radical goes as an exponent on the side, okay, and a superscript on the side. But the negative, this one looks weird. So let me change. If you have negative power, the entire thing becomes fraction. So 1 over x squared is just to the 1/2. They are not same. They look completely different. So if you give me this for all these things, I give you 0 because they are not same. The next one, nth root of x, so it's x alone, and then on the power, you have 1 over n. It's not 1 over x to the n. 1 over x to the n is x to the negative n. Okay? So when you have a negative n power, then it's 1 over x to the n. But if you have nth root, it's x, single x, and on the side, not on the top, on the side, it has 1 over n power. The next one, you have a single x, and then you have 2 powers. The radical goes on the denominator, the power goes on the numerator. So it's x to the m over n. Not m times n, or not n over n. It's m, the power on the top, and the denominator on the bottom. The radical on the denominator. Any question? Okay. Now, if you knew your rules well, that means you could do this easily. And if you remember correctly, I said anytime you have 1/2 power, try to convert it into radical because we are too used to seeing square root instead of 1/2 power. So when you see square root, your brain works faster than when you see 1/2 power. So all of these, they're 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2 power. So your life would have been easier if you converted everything into radical. So the first one has 16 to the 1/2, means square root of 16. What is square root of 16? 4. The next one is 16 to the negative 1/2. Negative means 1 over. So what's the answer? 1 over 4. Not negative 4. 1 over 4. The next one, we have a negative and then the number. So it's negative times square root of 16. So what do you have this time? Negative 4. So depending on the position of your negative, either you have a fraction or you have a negative result. And now our base is negative 16. So negative 16 goes inside your parentheses. So inside your radical. So what is square root of negative 16? Remember, they're asking you find one number, multiply twice, the answer is negative 16. This is what the denominator is telling us on the fraction. Multiply something twice, the result is the base. Can you think of something, the result is negative 16? Not possible. Jenny. Later in section 10.7, we are going to learn that it is possible, but not in real life. It's possible in the imaginary world. So we do get something from -16. Okay, so these are radical. Anytime you see 1/2 power, try to use square root. You will see what is happening here. The next one is easy. -3 inside the parentheses versus -3 outside the parentheses. If you have inside the parentheses, what does that mean? What is your base? 3 or -3? -3. So you're multiplying -3 twice. What's the answer? +9. Versus the next one. It doesn't have any parentheses, so it's negative times 3 squared. Means 3 times 3. So you get -9. And now you have a negative, but it's on the new on the power. Negative power automatically means what? It's a fraction. 1/3 to the +2. So it's 1/9. And the last one, we have double negative. While each negative has its own concept. This negative is on the front, so it's negative times. This negative is on the power, so it's telling us to make it as a fraction. So each negative has its individual role. Based on its role, you rewrite the whole thing. So you have -1/9. Any question? No. The next one, we have a slope, -1/5, and our point x1, y1 is 3, 2. This is actually not bad, but most of you were not able to do this. We have y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. So good thing many of you started with the correct approach. I was happy, but then you got messed up with your fraction. Y minus y1. What is our y1? 2. What is our slope? -1/5. X minus x1. What is our x1? 3. You also got this correctly, the second line. And now the thing you hate is the denominator. So before even distribution, get to the denominator, your life will be easier. Multiply both sides by the denominator, and your problem is solved. There is no more denominator. You have 5y minus 10 and negative. Come on. Negative x minus 3. You cannot disregard this negative. You still have a negative. The only thing you got rid of was the 5. You didn't get rid of the negative sign. That means you have to distribute the negative here. So you get 5y minus 10 is -x +3. Not -3, it's +3. But here it says you have to bring x and y together and all the numbers together on the other side. So you need your x to be next to the y. So there will be no x on the right side. And you also don't want the number on the left side. So you add 10. So there will be no number on the left side. You can do it in 2 steps or you can do it in 1 step. So finally, we have x plus 5y. And what do you on the other side? 13. Not 23, it's 13. So this is option number D. So you do the work correctly and then circle the correct option. This is what you're supposed to do. Question. Okay, the next one. And I believe, oh no. Okay. So we have this. What is 6 square? 36. The next one, you have negative 6 square without any parentheses. This negative times 6 square, so negative 36. And the last one has a parenthesis. So what do you have? Negative 6 times negative 6, that's positive 36. For these ones, I told you don't do anything until you convert your base. Our base is 27. We don't like our base. I mean, we like our base, but we don't like the 3. So rewrite 27 using 3 as a power. What can you do? What can you write? How can you write 27 something to the power 3? 3 to the power 3. Why we rewrite? What is our goal? Cancel the denominator. So left with 3 and negative 4 power. What does negative power means? It's a whole number or it's a fraction? Fraction. It's a fraction 3 to the 4. So it's a fraction 1 over 81, not the whole number 81. So I feel sorry for a few of you. You got everything correct, but you forgot that it's a fraction. You gave me either 81 or negative 81. Both of them are wrong. It's a fraction 1 over 81. The same concept is the next one. You keep your base. Your goal is to get to the denominator power because we hate denominators. Now, what number if you multiply 4 times tan into 81? Which number? 3. So 3 to the 4 is 81, you rewrite, and you cancel your 4s. So you left it 3 on the base, 3 on the power. Our answer is 97. So see, these are so easy. I saw a couple of you trying to do big math. You gave me big numbers. And I feel really sorry for you guys. Like, come on. Like, how did you expect me to give you such big numbers to doing the math without using any calculator? So to doing the exam. Like if you try to multiply 27 4 times, what you are doing in the exam? Come on. In the exam, we don't have enough time to do multiply 27 4 times or 81 4 times or 81 3 times. These are big numbers. The next one, if you remember your rules correctly, -1 with even fraction. What's the answer? If you have -1 with the even fraction, what's the result? You cannot do that. So same thing here. It's -1 and 64 with the even fraction. Well, you see, -1 cannot take an even fraction power. So the answer here is automatically DNA. And then the last part. I believe almost 98% of you didn't get this correct. And unfortunately, you'll see this in the final exam. Almost 98% didn't get this correct. Step 1, distribute individually. Distribute. So we get 2x cubed, 6x to the negative 4. These are the bases. The numerator has negative 2 power, but the denominator has positive 2 power. And then I told you many times in class, please don't do anything until you convert all the negative into positive powers. That means 2 to the negative 2. Don't do anything with that. Keep it 2 to the negative 2. Keep that, because this is definitely not negative 4. Most of you tell me that this is negative 4 and you got everything wrong. This is not negative 4. It's a negative power. It's not negative 4. And then when you have 2 powers, do you add them or do you multiply them? Multiply. Then if you added them in the exam, tell me guys, or think about that. Why did you do that? How could you tell me this is 3 minus 2, which is 1, and negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2? Like, what were you thinking? I know. I felt really bad because you did the power rule wrong, everything else was wrong. Even though you gave me the second line perfectly. If you gave me the second line perfectly, I give you 1 point at least. I think I give you 1 point. Okay, then we have negative 6, x to the negative 8, and 6 is a positive power, so it doesn't have any problem. The only thing here doesn't have any problem is the 6 to the positive 2 power. So you can write 36. Because 6 square is 36. And we can use that. We can instead of writing 6 square, we can write 36. Not a problem. And now I told you, don't do anything. Don't do anything. But you did it anyway. This 2 is a problem, so bring it on the denominator. This 6 has a problem, bring it on the denominator. 8 has a problem, bring it on the numerator. 36 doesn't have any problem. So why did a few of you brought 36 on the numerator? If you don't have any problem, don't change the position. If you're happy with your life, don't change anything. Why do you want to make yourself miserable by changing things, right? Common sense. So you keep your 36 because it doesn't have any problem. Besides 36, everything else is problem. So you move everything else. The 2 to the negative 2 comes in the denominator and becomes 2 to the positive 2. X to the negative 6 comes down on the denominator and becomes x to the positive 6. X to the negative 8 goes to the numerator and turns into x to the positive 8. If you didn't do that, you get 14. But if you did do this correctly, you don't get x to the 14. What do you get? X to the what power? Square. On the top or on the bottom? On the top. Because our 8 is bigger. Anytime you have something on any bigger thing, where the position for the bigger power stays same on the answer. So 8 is bigger here, our answer has to go on the top, on the position for the 8. And then we have 36 times 4. So it's not 36 plus 4, it's 36 times 4. You don't see any plus minus sign anywhere here. So if you added them, obviously you're wrong. We did not give any plus sign here. So you cannot add anything. And when you multiply, you get 144. So your final answer is x squared over 144. Any question? So see, the next one. It's supposed to be easy one, but I saw many of you get tricked by this question. Like Amar. Listen. You get tricked by this question, but this question is one of the easiest ones. This one, multiply. So cubic root of, you multiply your numbers and you multiply your variables. Now, most of you multiply 12 times 16. And I wonder, why did you do that? Why did you waste your time? I told you never to multiply them because our goal is not to see the product. Our goal is to see their factors. What factors we have ridiculed many times. This is what we are looking for. So if you multiply, get something big, how that will be beneficial to you? Never. So instead, just distribute them. Our goal is to see their factors, not their products. So here is the trick. If you use 2 times 8, you have to do more work. But instead, if you use 4 times 4, you get less work. So let me start with 4 times 4. If you did 4 times 4, 16, and 12 is what? 4 times 3. If you use 4 and 3, you already see what you're looking for. You have 4 3 times and 3 single time. So it's 4 3 times and 3 single. And each of them are inside their house, their individual house. Okay? They're not together and you're not adding them. You're multiplying them, but they have their own radical. So this cancel out, you get you 4. But this, you have nothing to do, so you keep it. 4 outside the radical, 3 inside the radical. And then most of you gave me this is 11 and then you left it alone. You cannot leave it alone because it says simplify completely. So you have to simplify that. When you simplify, you have to rewrite. Remember nth root of x to the m? I asked you before. So it's x to the m over n. The same concept here. The power goes on the top and the radical goes on the denominator. So 3 goes to 11 how many times? At least how many times? It's 4 and 7, right? 11. So at least 3 times. And then how much is the remainder? 3 times 3 is 9. So 10, 11, you have 2 remainder. And a few of you did it correctly. So I was like, yay, they got the concept. But the next line, you made me very sad. In the next line, you said you had 3 here and then cube root of x squared here. You're almost correct. The problem is these 3 and these 2, they both are powers, they both are exponents. They're not whole number, they're exponents. So you cannot write 3 as a whole number. 3 has to be an exponent. So it's x cubed, not only 3. It's x cubed and then x squared. So free and free. They become free, you put them together. This and this, they're not free, they're still child, so they go together. So we have 4x cubed outside the parentheses, so outside the radical, and inside you have 3nx. That's your final answer. 4x cubed, not 4 plus 3, not 4 times 3. It's 4x cubed, and then 3x. Now let me show you if you didn't use 4, then what to do. So let me do it here. Let's break. So if you didn't use 3, no problem. We have 16 and 12. So if you use 2 and 8, okay, no problem. And if you use 2 and 6, no problem. Now here you see 2 and 2. You cannot break them down anymore. So keep them. You cannot break them down. But you still can break these two down. What is 8? What times what? 4 times 2. And 6? 3 times 2. And now you see that 3 you cannot break anymore. 2 you cannot break anymore. These 2 you cannot break anymore. But you can still break 4 down, right? What is 4? 2 and 2. And now you cannot break them anymore. So now everything you circle that cannot be break down anymore. Now among all these circles, do you see the same thing 3 times? Which one you see 3 times? We definitely see 2, 2, 2. We see 2 3 times. So 2 3 times. We see something else also 3 times, right? What else do you see 3 times? Another 2. So you write another 2 3 times. And then you see a single number. Which one is a single number? The 3. So on the left page, we had only 2 houses because we had only 2 sets of number. But here we have 3 sets of number. So how many houses you're going to have? How many radicals you're going to have? 3 of them. 1 for each number you have. The first 2 cube has its own radical. Second 2 cube has its own radical. The single 3 has its own radical. Everything has their own radical. But what happens here? The radical in 3 cancel out. The radical in 3 cancel out. So you're left with 2 here, 2 here, and this one you cannot break them down anymore, so you keep it. Now between all 3 things, what sign you have? Addition or multiplication? Multiplication, because addition sign is visible. Anytime you have addition sign, you will see the sign. But when you don't see the sign, it's multiplication. You don't see addition sign only in one place. Anytime you start with some number, you don't see a sign, but you have to keep in mind that you actually have a plus sign there. So for example, here this 2 has a plus sign here in the front because we start with that 2. But besides these 2, everything else, they have a multiplication sign between them. So it is 2 times 2, 4 radical 3, which is exact same thing what we have here, 4 cube root of 3. Any question? Multiplication was bad, really, really bad. So you take the first number, 5 square root of 3, and you multiply the entire second term. 4 radical 3 minus 7. Then you take your second number and you multiply entire second thing. So plus 2, 4 radical 3 minus 7. A few of you got this correctly, okay? But then most of you got what wrong is this one. You knew that this is 5 times 4, 20. But then you said it's 20 radical 3. But how many radical 3 you see actually? Only 1 or 2? 2. So you have to use a power to indicate that there is not 1 radical 3, it's 2 radical 3. Or you could simply multiply 3 times 3, which is radical 9. Now, if you do radical 9, you know square root of 9 is 3. But if you use the power, the radical, come on. The radical and the square cancel out. You get 20 and it doesn't have any plus sign between them. So what sign you have between 20 and 3? A multiplication sign. So it's not 23, it's 20 times 3, which is 60. So the first term is 60, not 20 radical 3 or not 23, it's 60. Then when you multiply the second one, it's negative 35 radical 3. Sorry, yeah, radical 3, not cube root, my bad. Radical 3. And here plus 8 radical 3. And then minus 14. In the middle, we have like terms because they have same radical 3. So you keep your radical 3, but you combine their coefficients. Negative 35, positive 8. How much you get? Negative 27. And this 14 is single, lonely, so you bring it down. And then you combine this 60 with the 14 because they are like terms. What is 60 minus 14? 46. And this comes down negative 27 radical 3. So this is final answer. Any questions so far? No question? Okay. So now for domain. I realize most of you have no idea what is domain. So think about your phone, okay? If you have iPhone, can you charge your iPhone with the Android charger? No. Hell no, right? Not possible. If you have Android, can you charge your phone with the iPhone charger? No, right? Yes. So everything has its own condition. If you use your iPhone, you have to have iPhone charger. If you use Android, you have to have your Android charger, right? That's the rule. Same thing for domain. You cannot plug in every number for your X here. So you're looking for what is the problem or what type of phone you have and what type of number you can plug in. So this phone here, you have a rational phone, okay? Now rational phone can have every charger besides whatever makes your denominator 0. That's the problem. What makes the denominator 0? It cannot have only those numbers. So here you look at your denominator. This is iPhone. You cannot use your Android charger. So iPhone cannot use Android charger. And Android charger, Allah says 0 is the Android charger. Okay? So iPhone cannot use Android charger. iPhone can use every other iPhone, every other things, but cannot use Android. Now we know that denominator can be positive, can be negative, can be whole number, can be fraction, can be decimal, can be everything else, but it cannot be only one number, it's 0. And then we figure out which number makes the denominator 0. So to figure out that number, we solve for x here. So we have 50 minus 2x squared. The entire result cannot be 0. You divide everything by 2 because all of these are all of these are even numbers divisible by 2. So you get 25 minus x squared cannot be 0. And then you have two choices. Either factor this or use square root. Many of you use square root and then you give only one answer. So don't use square root. Instead factor. 25 is 5 squared and x squared is x squared. So what do you have? Difference of two perfect squares. So when you factor difference of two perfect squares, it's supposed to get a conjugate pair. Do you remember what is conjugate? The same two terms, just their middle sign is different. So what are the two conjugates we get from here? You look at your base. Your first base is 5, second base is x. So the conjugate pair, what you're looking for is addition and subtraction of their bases. So it's 5 and x. You add them, you subtract them. These are the two factors. Difference of perfect squares. When you factor them, you get two conjugate pairs. And in the conjugate pairs, you have their bases. You add their bases, you subtract their bases. And you have to keep the position. Or 5 is the first base. So in your factors, you have to have 5 in the first position. Your x is the second base. So your second position has to be x. And then you solve individually. If 5 plus x cannot be 0, that means x cannot be what number? Negative 5. If 5 minus x cannot be 0, that means here x cannot be positive 5. That means from a number line which has infinitely many numbers from negative to positive infinity, you can use every number from the number line. You can plug in for your x, but there are two numbers you cannot plug in. Which two numbers? Negative 5 and positive 5. So this is the scenario. From the entire number line, take any number, plug it into your function, no problem. But these are the two numbers you cannot plug in because you have your iPhone, and these two numbers are for the Android connection. So you cannot have them for your iPhone. So you have 3 sets of intervals. Everything else besides these two numbers. So negative infinity to negative 5. And since you cannot use negative 5, so what should be your boundary? Bracket or parenthesis? Parenthesis. Parenthesis means you cannot use, means it's a hole. You cannot use that. So this is your first set. Most of you, 99% of you, forgot the middle set. What's the middle set? The middle interval. Negative 5 to positive 5. You guys forgot that. And then the last set, 5 to infinity. So you can substitute everything else from the number line for your x in this function, but these are only two numbers you cannot use. So this is what domain is. What number you can plug in. In the next one, we have another type of problem. It's a square root function. Now for square root function, let's say this time this is our Android phone, so we cannot plug in iPhone charger. So what type of charger it uses? Can it be negative? It cannot be negative, right? Can it be 0? Yes. Can it be positive? Yes. So this thing, we can have 0 inside and we can have positive inside. The only thing we cannot have is the negative. We cannot have any negative thing inside. So we have to see what numbers make the inside negative. So to find that out, we first solve the inside. So x squared minus 16, it can be 0 or it can be positive, but it cannot be negative. So it can be 0, okay? It can be 0. So what makes this thing 0? So x squared equals 16. So what number when you square you get 16? One of them is positive 4 and the other one is negative 4. There are two numbers when you square they turn into 16. -4 and +4. So we do know when x is 4 or -4, our y is 0. We do know them. And y is 0, it's acceptable. So we can use -4 and +4. But let's see what else we can use. So from infinitely many numbers, negative to positive infinity, we definitely know we can use positive and -4. We definitely can use them. That's for sure, because that makes the y 0. This thing, the inside 0. So we can use them. So we get brackets, because we can use them. Now the question is, what else we can use? We have 3 intervals. You just have to pick only one interval and test it. Let's take the middle interval and see if you pick something from the middle interval, can you use them? Let's say we pick 0 in the middle interval. So when x is 0, what do you get here? 0 square minus 16, which is 0 minus 16, which is negative inside. Can we have negative inside? No. So any number from -4 to +4, we cannot use them, because that makes our function invalid. And now if you remember, I said, if you test only one, you can guess the other two, because the sign will alternate. And sign alternates only when you have +4 -4. Only when you have odd number factor. So if you try to factor x squared minus 16, give x plus 4, x minus 4, they both have 1 power, which is odd. So their sign will alternate. So this sign is negative, we found. That means this will be positive and this will be positive. But if you forget that, no problem. Take any other number. Let's see here. -1 is not smaller than -4. You have to pick something that is smaller than -4. -6. -5, no problem. So plug in here. -6 entire thing squared minus 16 inside the square root. Now I gave you this question before. What is -6 parentheses square? Is it positive 36 or negative 36? Positive 36. So you get 36 minus 16. Is it positive or negative? Positive. See? So yep, you can use this interval. And if you test that interval, you will see that this gives you positive. That means from the infinitely many numbers in the number line, there are only 2 sets you can plug in for your x value. The middle set you cannot plug in. So your domain here is the first set from -infinity to -4. Can you use -4? We can, because -4 makes inside 0. And we know square root of 0 is a real number 0. So we can use 4 or -4. So it's bracket. And then the last interval. It starts from 4, ends at infinity. And we can use 4 because 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. It's a real number. So it's got a bracket. Whatever you can use is bracket. You cannot use is parentheses. So that's the domain. Now you know what mistakes you made in your exam. So what do you think? What do you think about next exam? Ha ha ha. No free points. So in the next exam, you're going to see the same format. Some will be multiple choice, sorry, there will be almost 2/3 no partial credit, 1/3 you'll have partial credit, and then the format will be same, a mix of multiple choice, non-multiple choice, everything.
Is the second exam gonna be also including problems or units from the first exam?
No, it will start from 10.5 onward, but I will give you this chart again. Okay. This chart, only this chart from the materials in the first exam, and besides that, everything else will start from whatever we are going to learn next week. So next week we have class only on Tuesday. Thursday there is no class. Tuesday we have a class, next week Thursday no class. So whatever we are going to start from Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday no class. So your exam will be based on that. But I'll put this again. Your 36 points. Easy 36 points. Any question?
What pass?
60 is the passing grade in the exam. And for your passing grade for the class, you have to get 60 overall, but you have to get at least 50 in the final exam. 50. So if you don't get 50 in the final exam, it's automatic fail. And if you don't get 50, if you get 50, but then your overall becomes below 60, it's still failing. So pass final exam with 50, and then the class exam with 60. Not individual exam, but the overall with homework, quizzes, exam, everything together has to be 60. Any other question? So before the first exam, I suggested you use AI, generative AI, to help you as a tutor, and most of you did not, right? I know AI is bad. So that's why I was teaching you how to use it correctly to help you as a tutor. Now, I told you, right, my dissertation topic, my research topic is look at the effect of AI if you use it as a tutor. Does it help you or does it make you dumber? Okay, that's my goal. So would you like to test it on yourself? Would you like to see, like, if you use AI, generative, not every AI, like Photomath? No. Generative AI, like the things I told you, ChatGPT, Cloud, Flexi, those. Would you like to use it in class as a tutor, not as a cheating material, as a tutor, to see can you improve your second exam score? Would you like to see that? My question is, in the first exam, you did not, for the materials in the first exam, you did not use AI to teach you, right? I give you question in class, you did it or you didn't do it, or you just talked, or you just sat down, right? But from now on until second exam, when I give you any question in the class, if I tell you to please AI to help you as a tutor, would you like to do that? And see if you do that, will it improve your exam score or not? Will you improve your understanding or not? Okay? So until our next exam, I'm going to give you some sets of questions in the class to do after lecture. When you do them, if you don't know anything, I'll give you at least 20 minutes to do them. Use AI as a tutor, okay? To help you. See, you can cheat, but you see how strict I am when I grade, right? I look at every single details. The cheating doesn't help you. If you really want to, next week. If you really want to learn, you have to learn because you need them in your next class, in your pre-calc. So if you really want to learn, please help me with my research and see, does it help you? And I'll have an idea like how to improve my research project. How can I apply it so that it actually helps students? So what I was saying, oh yeah, so in class, or even if you do the homework, whatever question you don't understand, ask it like, how do I solve it? Or why is this step I have to do? Why is that step? Like when you talk to one tutor, like the way you ask, ask the same questions to AI like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is bad, okay? Like Cloud or Flexi, and see, does it help your understanding of the math? Does it improve your skill? And then we are going to see the result in the second exam. Okay? Thank you. Any question? Comments, concern, complaint? No? Great. So that's all for today. We had a break and we're going to have another break. Huh? No homework. We didn't do 10.5. I know. So it's a reward if you did your exam, if you get good points in your exam. Did we make a mistake? You didn't tell me that. Oh my God. That's why I didn't. Not trusting in this time. But next time, anything you do the scrap, indicate here because I don't look at the scrap until I have to. I do if you tell like look at the scrap. Many students they did the scrap, they told me look at the scrap. So I went to the scrap and I was like, oh, okay, good. But here when I see no work and the answer, I was like, no. So like yeah, I'll give you points. So you have 4 more. Which is yeah, that's
When you use that one for it, I was like, that answer I got for it was marked, or just you saying it's correct or marked it wrong.
no, this is correct.
Mm.
And it didn't change anything, right?
No.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Wait, why did it took off points? What's the reason?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. If it was with it.
You have your bracket, correct.
This part was one of the confusing parts, and then the.
Okay, I'm trusting you this time. Not all the time, okay, this time. So yeah, I took off 1 point, I will give you 1 point.
Like the way I did it.
Yeah. So in grade.
Remember most of the stuff.
Thank you.
This first one.
Monday, I will not be here, but this Monday I will be here probably. What time you can come?
Like after this class, or do you class that?
Monday around 1:30. How about 1:30? Your class at 1:30?
I think so.
How about 1?
Okay.
1?
I think.
Okay. So go to email me, shoot an email. Did I make a mistake?
No, I got like half a point, half of the whole point, right?
Yeah, so it's 2 points, and if it's parentheses, I give you 1 point. So did you change it? From parentheses to bracket?
No, wait. I don't know. I probably did.
Yeah. For parentheses, I took off 1 point.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
But be careful next time, okay?
Huh?
Be careful with a tiny mistake. You made all these tiny mistakes, I noticed. Of course. But you made so many tiny mistakes, so many little mistakes.
I was here because I think you called attendance all the way in the beginning, if I'm not wrong, or.
Yeah, me as well.
How come you did so late today? What happened?
Personally, I
Oh, I slept?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it was the train.
right? Okay, no problem.
You.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Oh shit, I forgot to.